Real estate investing has been very interesting, and I've been able to apply a lot of skills from being a lawyer to this job. I essentially have to negotiate, I have to evaluate, identify homes, identify investment opportunities, I have to network. One of the big things is obviously I have to enter into contractual agreements, so purchase and sale agreements, assignment contracts.
People typically think of their family doctor. They don't think of their family doctor also works in hospice, which is more near the end of life, whereas their family doctor really should be trying to encourage healthy living and trying to pursue long living. So hospice has been a new side gig that I've picked up, and that is a contractual work, 1099 job that I do about 30 to 40 hours a month. And it really gives me the full picture of a patient's health. Medicine,
Law, friendship. This is Dr. Long and Lawyer Nik. You're listening to the Medico-Legal Brief.
one doctor, one lawyer, and a whole lot of gray area.
Welcome back to our listeners to the Medico-Legal Brief. I'm Lawyer Nik. I'm with Dr. Long. This is the podcast where medicine meets the law. And Dr. Long, we have a very good topic for today. We're going to focus on side gigs and side hustles for lawyers and doctors. But first, it looks like you are in a different environment.
Yeah, it's actually one of my, I wouldn't say side gigs, but it's one of the transitions I've made in medicine where I am now faculty. And that faculty position is teaching residents in the hospital setting. This has been a new role that I've picked up in the last 6 months. And this is one of the weeks and weekends that I'm working in the hospital.
So not a green screen. That's a real room that you're in with all your equipment that you need to survive the day.
Yeah, this is my own personal physician attending office or lounge where I have a bed if I need to sleep in and my own computer and phone and make sure that I'm able to answer anything that the residents or the nurses need on the floor.
That's pretty interesting. We've talked about this before where you have access to some amenities while you're working, but it looks like you're pretty much in a patient room.
Yeah, this is actually an old patient room that they have just refurbished so that it's for me.
With today's topic, though, we're always looking to try to add value where we can for aspiring lawyers, aspiring doctors, law students, med students, or even people that are currently in their career. And one thing that we don't pay enough attention to sometimes is the fact that given our education and given our career paths, there's a lot of different side gigs and side hustles that exist in our respective fields that allow for more knowledge, more learning, more money. It's on point that for both of us, we've talked about in previous episodes that we've had academic side gigs, we've had contractual side gigs, we've tried to do it all. And so I'm interested to get into our discussion today.
Right. It's really important that anyone that is looking to get into a side gig or getting to work outside of their primary job, that they do it for the right reasons for that moment in time. And that's going to shift and change as you age and grow in your career. For me personally, the first thing that really pulled me into doing a side gig was trying to pay off my student debt. So it was all financial reasoning. But after the financial stuff was fulfilled, it really turned into what was going to make me happy, what was going to keep me excited about medicine. And that's where the family medicine specialty really is in line with my goals, that I wanted to be able to take care of all types of patients across all settings. And so a lot of my side gigs, as we get into it, you'll see that it comes out of left field sometimes, and you probably don't expect a family physician to be able to do those things, but it's been really nice and it really fits into the reason why I do what I do every single day.
I could not agree more. When you're looking at side gigs, the first bit of motivation is probably to pay off debt from a legal perspective and a medical perspective, because we've talked about it before. We accumulate a lot of student debt just going through the process of trying to become a lawyer, trying to become a doctor. Then after a certain point, you flow into what other avenues of experience can I have? What other ways can I give back? What other opportunities kind of pop up that you think, hey, I should try this and see what happens and see what comes from it. I definitely want to dive into those things today. One thing that's very on point for both of us is you and I aren't strangers to side gigs. When I look at my career, my overall career in life, I've done the side jobs, I've done the odd gigs, I've worked for my father, I've driven Uber, I've done all the little things on the side to try to make an extra buck, or at least try to add to the resume. If I recall, you've done the exact same thing as you've gone through your career and your education.
Yeah, we've always had the eye on the prize, but along the way, we always tried to make sure that we had backup plans to the backup plans, but also making sure that we had the right fundings to be able to achieve those goals. And so, yes, you're right. As we grew up, we both had some college businesses where we did some art. We painted some murals for some businesses. So that was a side gig. I did some commission artwork in high school and some in college. So, yeah, we've always had those side gigs along the way to help us, one, finances, but two, just keeping us sane. It's something different from what our main goal was.
At one point, did you like walk dogs, or weren't you like a dog sitter?
I walked dogs. I've pet sitted, had pets stay with me, went to another home to watch their pets. Anything under the sun. I've also done Postmates back when Postmates was a bigger thing, similar to Uber Eats. I took every opportunity I could, any extra time I could to just make sure that I was going to be successful in my goal of becoming a physician.
For our listeners, for our audience, we've done it all. Hard work and even the nitty gritty work isn't beneath us. It's crazy that in such prestigious careers, we've done it all. We've cleaned the bathroom shitter all the way up to folding the laundry and helping out the neighbors. We've been in it, and that leads this discussion into some of our side gigs and our side hustles. I just want to start with something that we both do, which is a more obvious side gig, going through the route of academia. We're both adjunct professors. We obviously teach in different manners and different categories, but Dr. Long, tell me about your side gig in academia.
It was actually a slow start. I had always been interested in teaching. I never knew if I was going to be a good teacher or not. I always kind of leaned into it as a resident. As a resident, whether you wanted to or not, you were always teaching someone below you, whether that's the medical student, whether that's the first year when you're a second year, or once you're a third year, then you're teaching the first and second years. So I leaned into that, trying to hone my skills in teaching. But then I was elected chief my third year. So I became the mouthpiece for the residents so that I could talk to the program director if there were any issues. That really got me engaged and interested in how the dynamics work. So when I joined my first job, there weren't any opportunities to teach. So then when I got my second job, that's when I started taking on medical students half a day a week. And then I started working at the residency for maybe half a day a month. And then they really enjoyed my teaching style. And that's when they started to recruit me on board. And so in this new year, that's when I stepped into this new role where I'm doing part-time, where I'm teaching in a clinic setting, and an office setting, as well as in the hospital where I do a couple of weeks a year. But my main gig is still seeing my own patients, doing my own procedures in my own clinic.
Now, is that pretty common in medicine with doctors doing what you're doing?
It's not. Usually it's more of you're either full-time clinic, full-time hospitalist, or you're full-time academia, meaning you're full-time faculty and you're doing everything 100% with the faculty. I'm really impressed, but also really excited about the opportunities that my current employer allows. They've really allowed me to just create this new role and this new position because they know that many newer physicians are coming out looking for an expansive, broader scope of practice and the ability to practice in multiple settings. They allowed me to set this up and figure out how financially that would make sense for them, but also make sense for us.
Definitely an interesting path. For us, when you're in law school, you have adjunct professors for different types of classes, whether that is a very nuanced legal writing class, or maybe it's a class that won't garner a lot of student attention. And you'll get these badass attorneys that they do that role full time, but then they still take the time to come back and teach as an adjunct professor. I was always cognizant of that role being there. And I always thought, I like teaching people. I don't know if I'd be good in a classroom setting, but maybe that would be something that I would pursue down the line. Well, in law school, I did all the competitions, what we call ADR competitions, which is alternate dispute resolution. So negotiations, mediations. I was really good at it. And when I graduated from law school, I came back each year as a volunteer helper. I would assist in coaching the next teams. By doing that every single year for a certain period of time, it was an opportunity where the law school approached me and said, hey, we have an opening for this, and you've been on board and you've had success with the students and you've had success personally. Would you like to have the role as one of the coaches? And I said, absolutely. After a year or two, the school system decided that all coaches would become adjunct professors. It was one of those things where overnight I went from just a contract coach to, hey, you're an adjunct professor and now you're part of this ADR program that's nationally ranked top 5 in the country, and I get to give back. It's a little bit different from your traditional classroom role, but as far as side gigs go for attorneys, you can always look at adjunct professor roles, whether it's a negotiation coach or a moot court coach, or truly being at the front of a classroom teaching these courses that you specialize in?
It sounds like both of our fields allow the same pathway into academia, which is where you officially apply and are actually full time faculty versus what we did, which is we volunteered because we were just interested. And then we almost got recruited into the role because they enjoyed our presence there, or maybe we enjoyed being there. So, yeah, that's interesting that both law and medicine has that parallel in stepping into that academia role. I will say that the majority of physicians who do take on medical students and residents, they actually do it for free the majority of the time. So it's out of the goodness of their heart. We're starting to see a little bit more pay compensation. And so I hope that that continues because it's already a tough road ahead in terms of becoming a physician, but it's even tougher when you're trying to see your own patients and then also teach at the same time. And you know it's your passion and you want to do it. And so you feel stuck in the middle where do I say no because it's not being paid versus saying yes because I love to do it.
Yeah, there's a balance there, but the beauty of it is in the instance in which you love to do it and you can get paid, that's a perfect world. And do it on your own time and do it on your own schedule and fit it into such a full-time role is also an extreme benefit.
So then your adjunct role, I'm assuming it's paid on a 1099 basis, right? As a contractor, or are you on actually their payroll as an employee?
Initially, I was 1099 and now I'm W-2. I've been W-2 for them for the last, I want to say 4 or 5 years, which obviously it comes with pros and cons. What about you?
Usually, when you go into faculty, it is a W 2 role. Whether you're part time or full time, you are getting paid on a W 2 payroll rather than 1099. 1099 roles are usually more like locums or people who are transient and you're not there permanently or more long term in the medical field, anyways.
And for our listeners, even the younger listeners that are just now getting ready to enter the workforce, W-2 is you're on the official payroll. You count as the overhead. The corporation or the school or the employer is going to collect taxes from you. They're going to take the taxes out of your paycheck. They're going to send you a W-2 tax form at the end of the year that you have to submit with your taxes. 1099 is essentially contractor work. You are usually paid by the hour. You have an hourly rate. They'll pay you what you're owed. And then it's on you to then manage that 1099 and submit it with taxes. And then at the end of it, you'll end up taking taxes out of it to go ahead and pay the government. So just a little nuance there for our listeners who aren't really familiar yet with what 1099s and W-2s are.
The other pros and cons is that with a W 2, it usually comes with benefits, whether that's life insurance, disability insurance, health insurance. That's all tied within the W 2 payroll. Whereas a 1099, you forego all of that. So then your paycheck for a 1099 tends to be higher because they expect that you're going to have to pay out of pocket for those sort of things. There's a lot of nuance. And if there's any interest from our viewers, let us know because we can always do an episode where we actually dive deep into 1099 and W 2 and how that breaks down and how we deal with our taxes because the tax burden is quite high for physicians and lawyers.
Which is a great segue because this is what piqued my suggestion for this podcast. As of late, I have been looking for legal contractor work, something that's flexible, something that's part-time, and not so much because of the money. Obviously, we've talked about money is good, but I've been feeling a calling to get back into the formal law atmosphere and law environment. This podcast definitely influences it, as well as my real estate investing. I want to make sure that I'm staying sharp and I'm still growing and learning and applying my legal tools across what I'm doing. So I've been looking for contract work, 1099 contract work, to help supplement my brain and my finances and everything else I'm looking forward to. Obviously, it's not something that I'm looking for 20, 30, 40 hours a week, but I've come to find out that there's a lot of part-time contractual work that exists for lawyers. Now, back when I was in school, the go-to was document review. It was always, hey, you can sign up for doc review. You'll get paid 25 bucks an hour, 30 bucks an hour. You'll review documents, you'll redline, you'll help with discovery. But now what I found out is there is a calling for AI experts, which is very, very intriguing to me because we've talked about AI and I'm very interested in AI and how it's applied to law. Some of the roles I've been looking at as of late have been legal experts in the AI sphere to engage with different AI platforms to then see if they are accurate, to check and adjust them, to provide feedback on whether or not they're giving applicable law applicable jurisdiction, and so on and so forth. So I'm blending two interests, obviously, with the law and then AI, because I'm definitely interested in seeing where AI goes. I'm just excited to pursue an opportunity in law that my skills can then influence AI.
Which is funny because we've had an episode in the past where we talked about AI and just new technologies and how Mr. Grandpa Lawyer Nick here usually doesn't try to keep up too much with the technology. But here we are talking about AI and how you're interested in it in this other side gig that we are pursuing together, which is the podcast. We've had to interact with AI and use it and utilize it. I have to give thanks to that and to you for us to be able to explore it together and actually stay up to date with the technology that's coming out. Because otherwise, I don't think I would be using AI as much as I would want to. I use it in my job, and in medical field, we have the same thing where we're having a lot of AI trainers where physicians are being contracted to teach AI certain tasks so that they can better improve the physician lives in the medical world. So that's always more contract work that is available for physicians out there too.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that if I'm able to pursue one of these AI contractual lawyer roles, I'll be able to broaden my horizons and really understand the dynamics of AI in the legal fields, as well as how we can apply it in the future. That's a good segue into me asking you, is there anything as far as medical that people don't really consider as far as contractual work goes?
Well, as you know, we try to intersect medicine and law here on this podcast, but there are a lot of expert witness jobs that are out there. I personally have not done it, but that is something that physicians are able to do and something I potentially one day might be interested in. But expert witness is something that you would have to have some sort of expertise so that you can then go on trial and elicit any sort of information that either the plaintiff or the defendant are looking for and then help the trial move forward in whatever fashion that may look like. Other things that I personally have done in terms of side gigs is hospice work for people who typically think of their family doctor. They don't think of their family doctor also works in hospice, which is more near the end of life, whereas their family doctor really should be trying to maintain life and encourage healthy living and trying to pursue long living. And so hospice has been a new side gig that I've picked up, and that is a contractual work 1099 job that I do about 30 to 40 hours a month. It really gives me the full picture of a patient's health because it keeps everything in perspective that the patients that I'm taking care of that are young and healthy, I'm able to have a more thorough, full conversation about what it may look like in the future, 30, 40 years down the line. And I can have those conversations earlier so that they can think about it ahead of time rather than what is happening now is that we wait till the very end to discuss goals of care or what death might look like and what they want out of their lives and what they want for their families when they're gone.
That's definitely an interesting take. I'm sure that the ability to work with those in hospice, you're then able to say to your younger patients, hey, this is what end of life for lung cancer looks like. Maybe you shouldn't vape or you shouldn't smoke. Or this is what dementia or Alzheimer's could do to you. So let's make sure to keep your brain healthy and do all the things that we need to do to let your brain have some longevity. That's really interesting and also very noble and commendable because you don't have to do that. We've discussed in other podcasts. You're stepping into a role that's very, very, very emotionally heavy. And it's your duty to manage your team and also help manage the family and temper expectations and deal with the emotional state that's there. So, are you running a team yourself when you're in a hospice situation, or are you actually responsible for the frontline engagement?
I'm running a team. So I have a team of nurses, nurse practitioners that will help me review charts and take on patients and review and make sure that they are still eligible for hospice. Every 2 weeks, we go back in and have an in person meeting where we discuss every single patient that is due for a review and just making sure that they are appropriate for hospice care and hospice needs. Otherwise, insurances don't pay for it, and it could be considered fraud if we're inappropriately keeping patients on when they're not supposed to be on. It's actually very fulfilling job to be able to not only help these patients get comfortable, but we're helping these patients achieve what they want out of their last several days or months of life.
A lot of people don't really have interactions with hospice on a day to day or a year to year or even a decade to decade basis. In my entire life, I've had interaction with hospice maybe two or three times for grandparents and other family members. It's one of those areas that you don't really think about till you're in it. That's commendable and very, very noble. And you're the type of person that needs to be managing the hospice treatment under those circumstances.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, but let's get off onto a more positive, optimistic topic. I'm curious. Obviously, you've talked about it multiple times, but you also have a gig in real estate. And I am so interested in how you feel the skills that you learned as a lawyer, how that has just blown into and just helped you navigate the system of learning what real estate is, going through contracts and all those things. How has that helped for you?
This is one of those things that also led me back into the legal side of things, the lawyer side of Nick. Real estate investing has been very, very interesting, and I've been able to apply a lot of skills from being a lawyer to this job. I essentially have to negotiate, I have to evaluate, identify homes, identify investment opportunities, I have to network. One of the big things is obviously I have to enter into contractual agreements, so purchase and sale agreements, assignment contracts, addendum. I also have to do a little bit of title work where I'm researching title to make sure a house is fit for me to take on and that there's no disagreements to title, that title is what we call not clouded. And then, of course, you have other aspects of maybe probate or maybe divorce where a couple is going through divorce and they know they need to sell the house. Well, I'm able to step in and not advise from a legal perspective, but be a solution to end up purchasing the house. And it's funny because I'm part of many networking groups. And in one of the Zoom calls that we were doing together, we were trying to all show our value and explain what we do. And one of the guys really pointed out, he goes, hey, you're a lawyer. You're not a real estate attorney, but you're a lawyer. So if you familiarize yourself with real estate, then you become the group's go-to person for the real estate knowledge. You're kind of a in-house counsel that can kind of advise. Obviously, I'm not taking on clients, but at least understand where people could have some risk and have some liability. It's influenced my search for some of these contractual roles where I am looking at real estate law contractual roles to see if I can broaden my horizon on a part-time base to then build my real estate portfolio, build my real estate investment opportunities, and make myself more valuable as a person and as a investor.
So then do you feel like because of your background and your history, do you still have to hire on an attorney when you're reviewing certain contracts or getting into contracts with certain clients when it comes to the real estate? Or do you feel comfortable enough to be able to do all that on your own so that you can know where you can find the answers? You may not know the answers right then and there, but you can find it or at least know who to ask.
When it comes to contracts and just understanding nuances, I feel 1,000% comfortable drafting my own contracts, writing my own language. I don't feel like I need anybody to review them. I'll use my own templates and I'll create my own contractual terms with that. However, when it comes to certain issues that I've never specialized in, such as maybe a probate or acquiring title, I will seek out another attorney to then answer the question. The beauty about it, though, is, and you could probably relate, when you're going peer to peer, you're not really treated as a client per se. So if I holler at one of my friends from law school or somebody in the community just by saying, hey, we went to the same law school. Hey, we practice in the same area. Hey, I'm a lawyer over here in Fort Worth and you're in Dallas. I had a question. Can I pick your brain? I'm able to get a little bit of free legal advice and pointing me in the right direction, which is beneficial. However, if I need to actually pursue something via real estate, I definitely need to hire counsel that is expert in what they're doing. Obviously, I don't want to be unethical. I don't want to have any conflicts of interest. It would be really, really tough for me to justify the fact that I not only have an interest in the property, but I'm also representing the buyer or the seller as a attorney. There's definitely a conflict there. But one thing that's also very interesting is that lawyers have a fast-paced route to be a realtor if they want, because obviously they have the contractual training, they have real estate and property law background within their education. So from there, you could, as a side hustle, go be a realtor as a lawyer, and it would be an easier path than if you were just a regular person that wanted to decide to be a realtor without the legal background.
Mm. So then my follow-up question is, has there been any sort of regrets in any of your side gigs? Did any of them explode or fail on you at all? Because obviously we've talked about some of the successful things and how it's helped us grow as lawyers and doctors, but has there been any side gig that you've experienced or gone through and just regretted it and wish you had never pursued it?
No, I don't think I've pursued enough side gigs to the point where I've thought to myself, oh, I've regretted that. Now, Full-time career, there have been several full-time careers where I've definitely regretted it. But as far as a side gig goes, I mean, back in the day, driving Uber, I've regretted that at times when I'm dealing with people that I don't want in my car. But other than what I've been pursuing, everything has been at least good. Everything has been at least a positive experience.
Yeah, I'm very similar. Every side gig I chose, I knew I would like, or at least I would only do it until I disliked it. So when I did Postmates, even though I was getting paid not very much, I enjoyed the exercise that I got with it because I used my bike to pick up food and then deliver it. I did it both in Portland and in Philadelphia, so in more compact areas where you weren't going too far out. But that was always enjoyable. But the thing that I have the most regrets on is my art commission business that I started in high school and maintained in college a little bit, but it never went off beyond that after college because of just medicine, because of medical school, residency took up a majority of my time. But I always think and wonder if I could step back into that position, do some art, make some art, and sell it again. But then you start thinking financially that the amount of time you dedicate to these pieces of art, you're only getting a certain amount of compensation back. It's not the same as working as a physician and you're getting paid much better. So that's the one thing I wish I had more time to do and more financial stability to be able to do, because I think that's probably what I'll do. Maybe when I retire, dip back into some art and do some commissioned art pieces.
That's why when you go to maybe an art festival, that's why art is so expensive. You walk into a tent and you see these beautiful pieces hanging up and they're $250, $500, $1,000. And you have to think, well, not only does the artist have to cover their material, but they also have to cover their time. And if an artist spends 40 hours working on one piece, full work week, and they're not getting paid, they need to make that up with their art or with the commission. The starving artist is a real thing. It's a struggle there because we both pursued art in our history. It's hard to make a buck off of it. To your point, I would love to do commissioned art, but there's not time or financial motivation to do so. But once you get settled in your finances to where you can happily retire and the dollar doesn't have as much of an influence on you, I definitely think that's something that can be pursued and allow the creative juices to flow, which lends itself to another area, which is content creation. What we're doing here, podcasting or making TikToks or making Instagram posts. A lot of lawyers and a lot of doctors are using social media and content creation as a side gig, and in some cases as a full-time gig.
Actually, more and more of our generation, for sure, and the younger generation is looking into what social media can offer as a career opportunity. Unfortunately, we have a lot of burnout in medicine, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a physician assistant, nurse practitioner. The day-to-day grind can be hard. People are constantly looking to social media to build a platform, to build a brand, and be able to step away from their main gig. We're talking about side gigs, but sometimes these side gigs turn into full-time gigs. And maybe that might be for us one day. Who knows?
We've joked about it where if this did turn into a full-time gig, it would be a very pleasurable full-time gig because we enjoy having these conversations. But to your point, there's a lot to it. The value there, though, is that we have had these elaborate experiences over a broad variety of topics, whether it's legal, whether it's medical. And we also have the ability to evaluate and analyze and look at other situations and provide our 2 cents while also having the credentials to do so. What's behind a lot of content creation is the fact that if you have an experience and you have a expertise in something, you can provide value to your listeners or to your audience, even if you're not in a courtroom, even if you're not in a surgical suite, even if you're not in a hospital, you can still provide value and give the masses something to really chew on.
Totally agree. You gave some good points to end the conversation here. Just make sure that the intention is right, that you're doing it for the right reasons, but it's also something that is sustainable. Side gigs can sometimes come and go, but the ones that are really enjoyable are the ones done for the right reasons. This is a great place to end our conversation here on the Medical Legal Brief with Dr. Long and Lawyer Nik. We always enjoy coming together and having these discussions where medicine intersects with law. We appreciate you guys joining. Make sure you follow us on social media. Our episodes come out on YouTube every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Central Time. Please make sure you hit the follow, subscribe, and we'll see you on the discussion board. Yes, we're doctors. Yes, we're lawyers. No, this podcast is not medical or legal advice. Do not take anything we say as a reason to perform your own heart surgery, represent yourself in court, or diagnose your neighbor's rash. This is for entertainment only. Think of it like hanging out with your smartest, wittiest friends, not a substitute for an actual appointment. If you act on anything we say without talking to your own professional, that's on you. Seriously, don't do that.